Little bit of background. I'm a 27-year-old female from the United States, and this occurred when I was 14. I'll be upfront here. I was an awkward teenager. When this occurred, I had just started my sophomore year of high school in a new state. I had just moved over the summer to live with my dad, 5 states away from where I grew up with my mother and 2 siblings. My family life wasn't the best up to that point. My mother is a wonderful woman with a big heart, but sadly also a fixation on having a perfect family when her own were cruel and narcissistic people. I grew up hearing about how ugly, fat, stupid I was, how I would never amount to anything, all to sate the ego of people that didn't want anyone in their family to be happier in life than they were. Mind you, these were not my parents or siblings, simply aunts, uncles, even grandparents that were still allowed access to us despite their repeatedly cruel actions. So I took up a big step when the opportunity presented itself and removed myself from that environment. I was so happy to have finally broken free, but it took a long time for me to heal from the emotional damage. As it were, my mentality at the time was one of extreme loneliness. I was in a new place with no friends and did not know a single thing about talking to people. I was exceptionally shy and dressed shabby with waist-length fluffy hair that was crazy and often got in the way of my face. I didn't realise how weird I must have looked, but hey, I was a chubby teenage ginger. I thought I looked pretty harmless. So, the first day at my new high school, I arrive on the bus. It's about a half-hour window between my bus arriving and classes actually starting, so I find myself a comfortable spot and sit, keeping my backpack on. I'll be real, I was a little terrified, and for some reason I got it into my head that if I did not find someone to talk to before first period started, I wasn't going to make any friends. So suddenly, my eyes were peeled for someone that looked like they might be easy to talk to. Not too long after, a girl passes by. She's shorter than me, with bobbed black hair and glasses. I also noticed that she happens to be wearing a t-shirt from one of my favourite bands on the front. A bulb should have appeared above my head, and I just knew she was the one. Not romantically speaking, just that she had similar interests as me, and it could be a starting point to a conversation where I at least could put out feelers to see if she was friendly or not. It took a few minutes for me to work up the courage to approach her. I didn't realise it at the time, but apparently she was aware that I'd been looking at her, glancing at her every few moments, trying to find it in me to not be such an introvert, and that apparently looked more and more like I was watching her. I learned all this later, as I'll explain at the end. All I know is that she had sat down and finally found my non-existent balls and walked over to her. Sitting a few feet away, at first I was quiet, then I finally worked up the courage to say hi. She awkwardly said hello back, and I knew immediately that she was very uncomfortable with the whole situation. I kind of floundered for a minute, looking for a way to make it less weird. That didn't help. I'm pretty sure I was visibly shaking at this point. Something I can't control that happens when I'm even a little nervous. A good moment had passed, and I finally commented on her shirt. She makes small talk with me, and the longer she does, the less shaky and scared I feel. And I guess, around that point, I regained some sense of composure. At least enough to put her more at ease. I think she finally realised that I wasn't coming over to creep on her at all, and that I was just looking for a friend. And I'm glad she did. We finally exchanged names. Hers was Leah. The bell finally rang and we parted ways, and she seemed sincere when she said she'd like to hang out sometime. Turns out, we sat next to each other in first period. It's been 15 years since I was that weird kid, outside the school staring like a loon at anyone that would pay attention to me, and 15 years since Leah and I have become best friends. She lives hours away now, and has a child. I'm that child's godmother. We Skype several times a week and have lived together on multiple occasions. Leah loves recounting the story of how we met to those that haven't heard it before. She thought I was following her around the courtyard, staring at her and being extremely creepy. She apparently was terrified when I came to sit next to her and didn't say anything. Didn't know how to exit the situation quickly and ended up stuck talking to me. Turns out, yeah, I'm a little weird, but just scared of talking to people. Luckily for both of us, I guess, first impressions weren't everything. I'm happy to say that while there are many strange weird folks out there, some of us just don't know how to talk to people. It's nice to meet those that know how to talk to us.